The next question goes to Ms. Cabral. President Obama recently issued an executive order that allows certain undocumented immigrants who arrived here in the U.S. as children to remain in the country legally. What is your opinion on the president's executive order and the broader DREAM Act?
I support the president and his initiative on the DREAM Act. These children were brought to this country as young children. They've grown up in our culture. And it is important to extend to them a pathway to citizenship, and to see that also they are educated. So I support the DREAM Act.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chung, representing Congressman Wolf.
First of all, I think the president may have overstepped his bounds, because I believe that's a congressional issue, and members of Congress and as representatives of the American public should have voted on that issue. I know, Congressman Honda, who is the proponent, or probably I think the sponsor of the DREAM Act, brought it up, and it's an issue that the Congress should deal with. Furthermore, Mr. Wolf believes that, and actually speaking from a personal experience, my parents are immigrants. They came here legally, and I don't, and as for all immigrants who come here legally, in my own personal opinion, I want to see people come here. I believe that, this is a great country for opportunity, but they need to do it in a legal, appropriate way. I'm a big believer in a high wall, wide gate, allow people to come. We want them to come. We want them to come here and learn. We want them to be part of our community.
Thank you. Next question addressed to 11th District. Congressman Connolly, how do you respond to criticism that a state and the local government involvement in immigration enforcement undermines community policing concepts and are costly?
Well, I have opposed some of the measures that some of our Republican friends think will be good, because I think they lead to racial profiling. I think they lead to a disruption between police cooperation and our ethnic communities, which is essential if we're going to have crime prevention and solving of crimes. So I think it presents serious problems. And certainly when I was chairman of Fairfax County, working with our police chief, we resisted those kinds of measures. Real quickly, I also want to address this bogus $700 billion, Mr. Murray, and Paul Ryan, the Republican candidate, mentioned. The $700 billion is a cut to vendors, not a dime cut to benefits, and the same $700 billion savings is in Paul Ryan's budget.
The next question goes to Mr. Durr. The children of undocumented immigrants born in the U.S. are granted citizenship known as birthright citizenship. What is your opinion on this, and whether birthright citizenship should be eliminated?
The congressman is supportive of the system. He feels that if it's not the child's fault that they were brought over here and born in this country, and so they deserve, in his opinion, the right to have citizenship, to go to school, to be educated, to become a functioning part of our society, and that's what that ultimately is what makes us stronger, our diversity.
And Mr. Murray, and I want to remind you to, if you can, to try and keep it within your 1 minute.
Well, we're a country of immigrants, and I mentioned earlier that I spent a decade overseas living and working over there, so I think I have a perspective a little bit that a lot of natural-born Americans may not have, just by me having lived overseas, having worked and operated in the country using another language and in a different culture. So I appreciate and respect that. And part of this goes to the DREAM Act, and frankly, I don't get a lot of agreement on with my party, but I think it's a hard time to punish someone who, by no choice of their own, was brought over here. And so I think that we need to find a way forward, but ladies and gentlemen, we have to do it in a bipartisan way. And all you hear on the other side is the Republicans did this and the Republicans did that. I want to put people over politics, and that's all people. And that's regardless of party. And if we work together and put people first, we can come to these solutions.
All right, thank you.
Next question goes to 10th District, to the representative of Congressman Frank Wolf first. What is your vision for dealing with English as second language students and a bilingual education?
Can you be a little bit more specific? Because you described a very large segment of the population here. I mean, I can talk at length about this one topic. I mean, I believe the county school system under, Mr. Conley's leadership when he was on the Board of Supervisors, provided excellent avenues for students in this county. I think Mr. Wolf supports, the educational endeavors of the students, whether it be ESL, whether it be, the students at Thomas Jefferson and the opportunities that they provide at South Lakes with the baccalaureate programs. I believe, we as a community need to help our students excel, and whether it's through ESL or whether it's in STEM programs. We're parents here. We need to help our children.
Thank you. Ms. Cabral?
Yes, English as a second language programs should be funded and available and accessible. That said, access to our democracy is reliant at times on bilingualism. I have worked hard as a voting rights activist, and one of the things underneath the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is that bilingual ballots are available to certain communities. I certainly see that, again, to access our democracy, making sure that everything from voting and education, number of parents of our public school children do have English as their second language, and we have to make sure that various information on everything from education to ballots is sufficiently translated as dictated under the law.
Thank you.
Mr. Connolly, several states across the country have implemented voter ID laws, some of which are being challenged in court. What is your position on these laws and whether similar laws should be instituted here in Virginia?
A number of states that have been taken over by Republican legislators have introduced legislation or actually enacted laws that will make it harder for people to vote. And it's targeted especially at minority voters. And it's designed to make it more difficult to exercise the most sacred privilege every American has, whether you were born here or you were naturalized, and that is the right to vote. For 225 years, men and women have died to protect that right. And it is wrong to pass laws, and let alone enforce them, that would do anything that puts a barrier between you and that vote. And so I'd go in the opposite direction. Let's make it easier for people to vote. Let's let them sign up. Let's have satellite voting. Let's have early voting.
Thank you. Next question goes to Colonel Patrick Murray first. What would you do to shift American dependencies on oil to reliance on renewable energies? Tell us how you see Virginia in terms of offshore wind power and oil drilling.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a market-driven decision. Right now, our gas prices at the pump have gone up. They've doubled in the last 3 years. It's more expensive for you to buy a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread at the store. It's all driven on energy. And the fact is that we have been limiting our access and our pursuit of oil and natural gas here in America. Right now, natural gas is very inexpensive. I am totally in support of an all-of-the-above solution. And I think that that is ultimately going to be the way that we will wind up. But ladies and gentlemen, when you try to pick winners and losers, you get Solyndra. And that's not the way to go. We have plenty of oil and gas that we can have here. I totally support the Keystone XL pipeline. That is a no-brainer. It would create 20,000 jobs, even more. It would lower the price of gas. I got it, supply and demand. The more gas we have and oil we have, that goes down. So that's my position.
Mr. Doerr?
Yes, Congressman Moran's strongly supportive of advancing clean renewable energy sources. For example, oil and gas industries, they get tons of subsidies and been doing it for years and years. We've got the wind energy tax credit, which is going to go away in January if we don't act. The oil industry is pushing against it. They want to kill off the source of some of the growth that the wind energy industry has had in the last decade or so, and the congressman's a strong supporter of trying to keep that going, and is he supports. But he is opposed to drilling off the coast of off the coast of Virginia. It wouldn't affect gas prices one bit over the next 20 years. But it would, put our coastline, our fishing, our tourism industries at risk of a blowout like what occurred in Florida, and it's, in his view, it's not worth the risk.
Ms. Cabral, on foreign policy, the situation in North Korea remains a very volatile situation. How would you handle the North Korean nuclear issue?
Well, I support what this administration is doing. Certainly, efforts made by Secretary Clinton in this regard. Definitely support her efforts as well. And I think the administration is doing a good job on this issue.
And Mr. Chung, what is Congressman Wolf's position on the situation in North Korea and the nuclear issue?
This is a question very dear to my heart, and I know it's very dear to Congressman Wolf's heart. I'm a son of a parent from North Korea, and this administration has done very little to bring the plight of the North Korean people to light. They've appointed a North Korean special envoy, Bob King. He has not been vocal about the situation in North Korea. More needs to be done. There are people dying. There are people starving. And this administration has turned a blind eye to the plight of the Korean people, in my opinion. And I believe Mr. Wolf shares that opinion as well.